Hello, everybody. This is Debo with Debo's Movie Reviews here, and this week's review will be JFK, directed by Oliver Stone, starring Kevin Costner as Jim Garrison, Sissy Spacek as Liz Garrison, Sean Stone, son of Oliver Stone's son, as Jasper Garrison, along with Joe Pesci as David Ferry, Tommy Lee Jones as Clay Shaw, aka Clay Bertrand, Ed Asner as Guy Bannister, with Jack Lemmon as Jack Martin, along with Kevin Bacon as Willie O'Keefe, Michael Rooker as Bill Broussard, and also featuring John Candy as Dean Andrews, which is practically the only time John Candy ever did a serious movie. And in cameo appearances as Earl Warren, the real Jim Garrison, which for those who actually followed the JFK assassination case, which this movie's about, you also notice that Perry Russo, who the Willie O'Keefe character is loosely based on, also appeared himself in the movie as the bar patron who cheered when hearing the news that Kennedy died, as the far right ringer who compared to the liberal Kennedys. And should also mention another inaccuracy, which of course it's a movie, not a documentary. Though me and a bunch of other people still think that personally, Oliver Stone was Garrison was more right than the Warren Commission. I mean, magic bullets my ass. And it also another change up was how the characters Janet and Bill Williams are actually based on Ruth and Mike Payne, who at the time of the assassination Marina Oswald stayed with, who which I should also mention Gary Oldman as Lee Harvey. I gotta give it to this epic, great telling on an American tragedy and one man's quest to expose the truth. So personally, I believe the mob had more involvement than you think it did. Like, for example, if you ever read the novel I Heard You Paint Houses, which is what The Irishman's based off of, which, although I had no factual claims to back it had a claim to how Garrison was actually a lawyer of Carlos Bocello, who was the kingpin in New Orleans until the Kennedy administration, when Bobby tried to deport him, as RFK had his get Hoffa squad. And I should also mention some also characters in this movie. Donald Sutherland as Mr. X, aka Colonel Fletcher Prouty, and Brian Doyle Murray at Brother Bill as Jack Ruby. And for a tale, he never really shown how Jack Ruby was involved, other than CIA and mob connections. Which, yeah, if you look at the real footage of the Kennedy assassination, you can also tell how a lot was going on from like when the presidential limos left field, and you had that one agent who was supposedly told to stand down from his position to where normally agents supposed to run with the car and all, and I'm just like, I'm just watching it and with an expression of the hell's going on, something ain't right about this, and how kind of like the Warren Commission never acknowledged his point of view, but they did it now to like Lee Bowers and a few others who died before '66 because they wanted to recant their statements, along with how they whacked David Ferrie. I mean, with CIA did because he knew too much and had that one person to prove that Garrison wasn't a crackpot. Explains why they never whacked Garrison because they could just because they say the whacking for if discrediting and blackmail don't work. Kind of like how, kind of like I also mentioned though I'm not sure how accurate it is because I've been researching and multiple claims about how Walter Matthau was in the movie was character. He was basically playing Russell Long, though it was also Warren Commission member Hale Boggs who also talked to Garrison about how that report was bullshit. And I gotta give Matthau, but I'd say more plausible and kind of fitting how Russell Long was in the middle of that, since his father Huey Long was also assassinated in 1945. And I gotta give it to Oliver Stone because this because he woke up woke up multiple generations with this and takes on it of like another inaccuracy that the movie that which is obvious because the legal ramifications and all, because Stone didn't completely debunk the official story, but he did throw enough breadcrumbs to, as Mr. X said, don't believe me, do your own damn research. And of course, gotta give it and great performances by Tommy Lee Jones and Pesci as their characters, especially with Pesci's character basically just knocking it out of the park, and how we always talk about his involvement with the CIA, but they never mentioned how he was also the personal pilot of Carlos Marcello, which surprisingly they never also never shined on the relationship of Marcello and Garrison, but it was just go straight to Clay Shaw and Ferry and O'Keefe saying things, which of course was really Perry Russo. A lot of great performances, and one to mention in the director's cut of JFK was how there was a condensed version of Garrison's interview with Johnny Carson, which NBC quickly shelved due to its higher ratings and how a lot of people even back in the '60s were questioning the Warren report with of how and Garrett and Carson were like what the hell are you doing showing these photos on my show and all, which of course in the movie was some condensed to Jerry Jones, or something like Johnson or something like that, which of course never existed. And I gotta give it to one of the greatest courtroom scenes in movie history, where he's just debunking all the war report and going pointing out their plan detail by detail about how how CIA teams planned different stops from like the depository, some other building in Dallas, the grassy knoll, which could have led to the free tramps theory, because only a handful of people were arrested that day, and but only Oswald was pretty much the only one they didn't let go. Which, which, to mention another movie, also adds a theory. My kind of theory. If you ever seen the watch Shooter, which I will review in a future video, Levon Helm's character in that movie once mentioned about how his claim about how the grassy knoll guys were dead in 5 seconds and all, as they were loose ends as well. Which, according to the Men Who Killed Kennedy documentary, some fears claimed that he called him the Badge Man, which makes you think it might have been Tippett in order to frame Oswald, pin on Oswald. And of course, Garrison's connection and interest was due to the fact that Oswald lived most of his life in New Orleans and was associated with the likes of Ferry and Shaw. That and well, plausible claim about how Oswald's uncle was a capo to Marcello. And another deleted scene shows Garrison and a few of the guys watching election returns from not the California primary, which led to Robert, but another thing news portion and it shows a scene which contradicted his earlier reaction. If you ever only seen the original cut, because there's a scene where Garrison looks off and just says, "Oh, he's next." Well, he's speaking out, "He's next," but contradicting to when he's waking up his wife, which I'd say is an excellent performance by Cece Spacek. He just wakes her up and says, "Oh, they just killed Bobby," and when led to in the movie his wife saying, "You're right all along." And of course, which of course, in reality, the real Liz Garrison eventually divorced Jim because she was tired of getting harassed and all. Because in his association, but overall, I gotta give Oliver Stone great movie, plausible, and still more believable than our Inspector's theory, magic bullet theory. I mean, even Bill Hicks had this old bit about the tree in front of the depository, going, "Ain't no way." But overall, I give Oliver Stone's JFK a 5 out of 5. I hope y'all like, subscribe, and enjoy, and I'll keep dishing them out.